You're watching The Breakdown. I'm Norman James along with Brent Lail and Merrick Sutherland. Last week at the United Way game, CCH 79 points against JP2's 20. 79-20 to start the high school football season. That is way too many points. I know CCH is a good team, but when is enough enough? It was an embarrassment.
Well, it seemed like definitely a lot. Speaking with head coach JP Circelli, he says, our goal is to try to get better each and every week. And it got to the point where they had 35 in the first quarter, and then they put the backups in, and they were still scoring, and it just really turned into what we would call a gong show.
So it's not their fault. It's the fact that their competition wasn't that good, and CCH was in too many positions to score. And what are they going to do? They've got to run the ball in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? You can't tell a kid. We were talking about this earlier. You can't tell a kid not to try hard. And you know what? If they're going to cough up the ball on the 35 or the 20-yard line, what are they supposed to do?
What do you tell the kids on JP2, though? How do you rationalize this loss? Because if these kids are sensitive, it could be a crushing blow.
Well, yeah, but it is sport after all, and there's no participation ribbons in high school football. So you know what? You tell them this is a darn good team. Keep your head up and go out and do it better next time.
I think the problem is, and I've heard this from several coaches within London high school football, most from the A division, they believe it was a gong show that didn't have to happen. CCH could have worked on something else when it was a 30-point differential. Do you think they have any credence in suggesting that and being a little ticked off at a CCH team that looks like it's out of place in the B division?
Well, there's kind of 2 points here. Obviously, from an outsider's perspective, it seems like a lot of points, and maybe it was. Maybe they should take a knee or punt the ball through the end zone for a single when you're down in the red zone. That's eventually what happens when teams get out of hand. But is that more of a mockery than just putting the ball into the end zone via touchdown? Then there's the other aspect that Coach Circelli had talked to me about was we've got our backups in there. They're blitzing us. Do we just hand the ball off and run into a brick wall, or do we, for the protection and safety of the players, do we throw some little dump passes and at least play the game?
Because injury is a huge part of that. If they're obviously blitzing, and you're throwing in your running backs, just say charge at them. For the sake of what? Sportsmanship. Just drop the ball, let them pick it up, and run down the field a few times.
Catholic Central now run by John Paul Circelli, the boy, and of course the mentor, the man, Mike Circelli. He was a coach who was pretty steadfast in making sure that game plan happened. He would not let off the gas. Do you think this was the boy showing the old man he can do just as well as he can, and maybe even better?
Well, Mike Circelli was a pretty successful coach. Maybe the boy is using the same philosophies that got his dad to 19 straight city championships. I don't know. But it is a tough question, when this happens in a game, because it probably should never happen. Yeah. The way the system is set up, sometimes it allow for that. But we'll see what happens when it goes through and CCH gets into the A playoffs at the end, how they fare against the good teams.
The tier system is a bone of contention for a lot of coaches, and I think the A coaches are thinking to themselves, you know what, if CCH were to play us, they would not be winning by 59 points. And unfortunately, they're not going to get a chance to lay it down on CCH until the playoffs, and by then, that war of attrition in the top division could expend a lot of their energy, whereas CCH comes into it feeling good after beating on the rest of the competition. Do you think there's any way to resolve this kind of stuff? Or are we going to see the big fish in the small pond every single year?
Well, no, there's something that needs to be changed, because it's the second year out of 3 that CCH has been in this predicament, and they are going to go through the B division like they are and not be touched, and they won't be injured when it comes to playoff time, when all the A teams are going to be beat up from the wars week in and week out.
If I were on that field, I'd want to score as many points as possible. I was not on that field looking at it from an outsider's perspective. I thought they ran the table a little bit too much. We'll have to see what happens now. It's CCH versus Strathroy, and Strathroy only scored 4 points in their opener. We could see another beating, and we could be back here in another week to talk about it. Who knows? Nazem Kadri on the bubble with the Maple Leafs right now. He's among the 30 players left at Leafs camp. I am thinking he is not going to make the big club, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Nazem Kadri should be a Toronto Marley because he has not looked good at training camp.
Well, as far as what Brian Burke and Ryan Wilson are saying, it doesn't look like he is going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf, but I think there's still time yet. I know that he has to beat out basically John Mitchell for the third center role, and My point is that you know what you're getting with John Mitchell. You know that he's basically going to be a 30-point guy or something like that. But at least with Kadri there, you may have the potential to be a superstar. Mitchell's been there. He's done that. He's never burned it up before. So at least if Kadri is there and he gets his stuff together, he could have potential to be a star. But
you hate ruffling feathers, Marek. You know, like Nazem Kadri should be in the minors or even lower.
I'm going to take it a step further. Mitchell's not even going to have that third center spot. It's going to be Tim Brent.
Who cares about Mitchell? Who cares about Brent? Let's talk about Nazem Kadri.
He should be in the minors.
Are you disappointed with his play?
It's all about development. There's a lot of players that are way better than him that have spent time in the AHL. It shouldn't be discussed as a negative for him. It's part of his development.
He's under so much pressure. Brian Burke coming down on him, Ron Wilson coming down on him, Leaf Nation coming down on him. You mentioned some big-time stars in the NHL now who sort of sowed their oats in the AHL. Bobby Ryan, Jeff Carter, PK Subban, Corey Perry, and even a potential line mate of Nazem Kadri, Tyler Bozak, spent some time in the A, and he looks like he'll be on the first line in Toronto. That's it for the breakdown for this week. Brent, thank you very much. Good stuff with JP Cercelli, and of course we always love the Big M and his opinion. We'll catch you next week, okay? See ya.